What up, y'all? This is your girl, Coach Nequa T, on the beat with yet another episode on the Spacious Podcast. This is a space where healing meets transparency and faith meets mental health. And of course, y'all come in with a whole new topic, a whole new series called Show Yourself Grace. And in this series, I definitely been learning what it is to actually show yourself grace and going through the process, the stages, the different levels of what that look like. Y'all hear me say it all the time, but what does it actually mean to actually show yourself grace on a day-to-day basis as you go through all these different life transitions and you're growing, you're living, you're learning, all that jazz. So I wanted to give some insight of what it actually looks like to show yourself grace. Of course, incorporating some of my life experiences too, because that's what it's all about as well, bringing that realistic point of view to it as well. But before we get into understanding what it means to show yourself grace, in this time, I've been understanding how even ourselves how we can block the process of just what it looks like to show yourself grace or even receive or allow others or even receive and allow God to receive his grace is what I'm trying to say here. So I wanted to give some context of how ego blocks seeing the grace. Mm. We always like to talk how big and bad we are all the time, but a lot of times it's like self can really block you from showing yourself that grace, showing yourself that tenderness, that sensitivity that you need in order to keep going in life. So I just wanted to give some context of what that means. And I'm a big definition person, y'all. Y'all probably don't know that yet, but y'all gonna understand throughout this series that I will be utilizing a lot of definitions, defining some things, just to give some context of what these things actually mean. Because we say these words all the time, but do we really know what what they mean? So we gotta actually take it back to elementary school, middle school, high school, school days for real. So let's break down the word ego for one. So ego, it it really is your idea or your opinion of yourself, especially when you're feeling your own importance and ability. So it's really in the context of being consumed in self, in your mind, thinking about just your ideas, your opinions, all that jazz. And that can be either good or bad if you're not careful. So I like how it broke it down even from a psychology standpoint, because that's what my background stands in. So in the psychology point of view, it states that ego is the part of a person's mind that tries to match the hidden desires or wishes of the unconscious mind with the demands of the real world. Mm. Now that has to hit for now that really hit for me, because I know for me, or even yourself rather, we all have our desires, we all have our wants, we all have our needs, and a lot of these things we try to put them to the back burner like they don't really matter, because we're trying to adhere to what society says, we're trying to adhere what our peers says, or even in our healing journey, we're trying to make ourselves be the overcomer. We're trying to make ourselves be like, okay, I'm done with this, I'm moving on. But something that I've learned, when you have that unconscious mind, which is like your storage, it holds a lot of the things. It holds your hidden agendas. It holds your motives. It holds your experiences, whether they are good experiences, whether they are traumatic experiences, whether they are even bad experiences. All those things is held in that hidden part of the mind. Now, how they manifest, we'll get into that in some more episodes. But I really want this to give just a foundation to understand like how your mind, like those hidden places in your mind, can actually block you from seeing you. So let's get into the pride part, because with something that I realized is, as I stated before, ego is consumed in self. When consumed in self, you can't always see where you have done wrong, and you can't see you. As I stated earlier, it's always about what somebody else did to you or just playing victim in different situations. So let's get into the word pride. So, pride is showing oneself above others. It's a sense of arrogance that comes with pride. Staying above takes hard work because you have to stay on top all the time. That's how I look at pride, and how I've seen pride, even how it has manifest throughout certain parts in my life too. How pride, it causes you to always want to stay on top of your A game all the time, because you're always trying to supersede someone else or be on top of everything else just to look good or get somebody else's approval. Pride will do that. Pride will have you saying, well, I'm not apologizing to that person because they did me wrong. That's pride, and it's putting yourself in a victimization type of mindset at the same time. So let's keep going. Something that I noted here was that continuously posting lavishing lifestyle to stay up to date with the hustle, performing instead of living, that's pride. Staying above causes a person to compare themselves. It causes a person to compare themselves when someone else is winning. Just because you haven't made it to the landmark, you feel like, well, so and so, they just got this, they just have had a sold out event. So what I'm gonna do next? Oh, I'm about to go out here and do an event too, just so I can get one up on this person. Not even just do an event. I'm gonna do a whole experience. I'm gonna do a retreat. I'm gonna do a podcast. Anything to make it seem like I'm overachieving or superseding the next person. And that brings me to this question that wasn't even on script, but now I gotta ask, even for those that are overachievers, like, why do you consider yourself an overachiever? Is the overachiever in you connected to that pride of you, feeling that you have to do it to make yourself be appealing to others? Y'all, that wasn't me. That just cut. That just cut real deep, because now it's like, even I ask myself this question: why have I been such an overachiever? Is it connected to seeking the approval from other people? Mm, that's something to think about. That's something to think about. That's definitely gonna be a journal topic, y'all. But that truly is something to think about. Like, why do you consider yourself to be an overachiever, or has just have to be on top all the time? What is the true motive behind it is where I'm trying to get at here. So let's keep going. Now, we talked about pride. Now let's take it through of what it looks like when pride start to get puffed up, because pride can get puffed up in different situations. And when you actually look up, I believe it's the Greek or the Hebrew meaning of the word, it really gives you that same context. Pride is being puffed up, because when a prideful person, they start to get like Hulk type vibes, it definitely means that it is so whenever a person, they get upset easily, they respond with anger and wants to argue, it's a defense mechanism. That's something that I want you to be mindful of in a prideful person, or even in yourself, because we're going to keep it real on this podcast. In the world of psychology, we like to call this a trauma response as well. Whenever a person they respond with anger or they easily get defensive, it's a trauma response. One of those trauma responses we like is called fight. A person that may be responded with pride, it can be come from a place of wanting to fight, fighting in words while they getting puffed up. Like they start getting big and bad type deal. Y'all know what it looked like. Feeling you're above because it's trying to protect self from something on a deeper level. Protecting self from a deeper level where you may have been hurt by something in your past, hurt by something that someone did. That's why that type of trauma response comes up, or even pride comes in. Maybe that pride of wanting to be the overachiever and go beyond others is becoming from a place of a deep insecurity that you may have. Those are the deeper levels that you have to get to. And a lot of times it's like that pride and ego, it will block you from seeing that because it's like, I want to show that I am confident. I want to show that I am secure in myself. But it's like, if you really showing it, are you really living it? Is the real question. Are you really living that personality that you are showing? Are you really living the words that you say? And if I'm being quite honest, I'm in a space right now where I'm truly learning practice what you preach. Like practice what you say to everybody else that you motivate to others. You got to start practicing what you preach and put that ego and that pride not even to the side, but kick it out the door because it don't need to live inside of you no more. So let's keep it going. Let's keep it going of how what pride looks like. So I wanna go take it to scripture because I like to throw in my scripture nuggets every now and then, y'all. We getting better at that. But in James 4, verse 6, it said, God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. He gives grace to those that are humble, those that are meek in spirit. So therefore, when a person feels they are above a situation and feel they don't need help or they don't need community, they don't need nobody else around them because everybody is flawed, don't need advice, it creates a brick wall of not hearing or receiving. Let me say that again. When a person keeps saying, I don't need this, I don't need that, it creates a brick wall of not hearing or receiving. And that's a dangerous place to be in. That is a dangerous place to be in. To always feel like you got it, I got it, I'm good. But are you really good? And I know it was one point um earlier this year, I kept getting asked that question. And I was wondering, like, why I keep getting asked the same question? And it started coming down to like, are you really good? Are you really good like you say you are? Or is it that the pride is trying to step in the way of saying that, no, you got this. You don't need nobody to tell you this. You don't need nobody to comfort you or anything like that. And as I learned, it wasn't a really helpful place to be in because a person that is not open to hearing or receiving, it puts a person in a position to be blindsided. They're blind because they are too consumed in what self think they want or what self think they need instead of understanding truly what the heart needs, truly what the mind needs. Because you can have these bricks, all these bricks around your heart thinking you protecting yourself, but in reality, you're really hurting yourself. You're really hurting yourself from the truth. You're really hurting yourself from truly receiving the healing that you really need inside. um so yeah, I just wanted to really give some context on that because it's real out here, y'all, and you have to stay true in the process, and you cannot allow your ego or the pride to block you and feel like you don't need nobody or nothing. So I want to give some more context of what prides look like through the word once again. So in Proverbs 11:2, it said, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Y'all see how the opposite ends comes in here. So I wanted to give some context of what disgrace is. Disgrace is to be a source of shame. Woo! That shame, that is getting to the root of why pride can be puffed up a lot of time, because anger is a traveling emotion. It don't stay there long. It usually gives a signal that there's a deeper emotion that is felt. And so with the disgrace comes it's a source of shame, to cause or lose favor, loss of grace, favor, and honor. That is what this grace is. And in this type of context, we do not want to be in that position, especially when building our relationship with God and continue to be in pursuit of Him. You don't want to lose the grace, okay? Because it'd be a lot of grace that be extended onto us. So why would you want to be in that position of losing the grace because you want to be so prideful? Why do you want to be in a position to miss out on those people that truly love and care about you because you want to be prideful? Why do you want to truly miss out on great opportunities that can help you and take you to the next level, even in your character, because you want to be prideful or you feel that you don't need anybody? Why do you want to be in that position? So, being prideful and consumed in your ego keeps a person away from being submissive. Come on now. We don't touched on this a couple of times on this podcast about submissiveness. And these two things are two of the key things that keeps a person from being submissive. Is the pride and the ego. Pride literally looks like, this is just who I am. I've been this way. If you can't accept me for how I am, then keep it moving. That's pride talking. And I'm not just saying this because I want to pick on you. I'm not picking. I'm saying this because I was that very much that person too at one point in time. I used to say that all the time. This is who I am. Accept me for who I am. And it's like, no, that is not who you are. Being angry, being disrespectful, being consumed in shame, talking negative all the time, that is not who you are. So when a person loses the grace, it leads to destruction in the mind, destruction of negative self-talk. Negative self-talk creates room for unfruitful negative belief system, because what you believe becomes who you are based on your thoughts, feelings, and your emotions. So, what pride feeds your ego? Once again, it feeds you the negative self-talk, leading into you leading you into a position of being blocked from the grace. So, that's what pride does. Pride also tells you you shouldn't apologize, you shouldn't forgive, you should shut down because no one understands you. You should continue to be you if no one accepts you, like I talked about earlier. Not knowing the attitudes and the maturity level is not healthy. Not knowing that you are self-sabotage yourself is not healthy either. Self-sabotaging leads a person, rather, I'm not going to say you, it leads a person to playing victim all the time. Playing victim leads to worthlessness, feeling unworthy in the inside. So, um I know this was something that I truly was battling with at one point. That whole self-sabotaging, playing victim type of mindset, um, taking self down a downward spiral, especially with the negative self-talk, consuming it in my mind. Well, this ain't just gonna happen for me. Well, this, that, and the third. And in the end, it will only bring on the feelings of unworthiness. And that's not where God wants you to be. Only person that wants you to be there is the enemy. That's the only person that wants you to be in that type of position. When a person starts to feeling those type of unworthiness and all those type of negative feeling, it only onsets symptoms of depression. That's where it's knocking on the door to depression. So before we go in even into what grace is, what it's actually about, I want you to take a moment to really think about and define grace in your own words. What does grace truly mean? I want you to define that. Really take a moment and take that in of what is grace? What is grace? What does grace even look like? And don't go on Google trying to see what the definition is. Don't try to open up your dictionary if you old school, trying to see what grace means. I really want you to take a moment to jot down some words of what grace actually means. So pause this video, take a moment to reflect, and then come back. Okay? All right. At this point, you should hit the unpause button, but we're going to keep it rolling. So, now let's get into what grace actually means. But before we do that, I want to take a look into the word humility. Humility, it actually means freedom from pride or arrogance. It's free over there in the humility zone, okay? The quality or state of being humble. That is what humility is all about. Not proud or haughty, not arrogant or assertive, like in a more arrogant way. That's not what humility is. Now, I like this second definition where it talks about a reflection or expressing offered in a spirit of submission. That's what it is to be humble, is to really be submissive or going under the character trait or leading or moving in action of submission. Now, as far as grace, grace is all about unmerited favor from the Father. It's the favor that you don't even know that you need, and you probably feel like you don't deserve you need it, but you getting it. That's what favor is. I mean, grace means. Grace is that extended love when you messed up, and I'm not talking about no regular love. It's the agape love that covers you in the grace. Even when you mess up, you don't get it right, for the 200th time, you still getting grace. So that is what grace is. And I wanted to stop it right there because I want to leave you with some reflective questions on top of the other two that I may have said. I want to leave you with these questions. How has your ego controlled your outlook of feeling worthy? That's question number one. I'm going to say it again. How has your ego controlled your outlook of feeling worthy? And that goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, or feeling like you got to have one ups on somebody to feel like you are approved by other people. That's what I mean by that question. So just give some context on that. And then my next question, um, we already talked about this one, is how have you redefined grace after listening or watching this video? So that's something else I want you to take into consideration as well. And yeah. And then for those that are still trying to get past that pride in the inside or kick it out the door, let's get to the root of it and ask yourself, why do you have to feel above or prideful to protect yourself? Why have you utilized pride to be your defense mechanism to protect you from different situations? Now, this is going to take you into a deeper level of really digging deep within, okay? Really digging deep within. So, yeah, y'all, that's all I got for y'all today. Make sure you stay connected with us. I pray that this video did something for your soul. It helped you to think about some things, get the mind juices flowing and all that jazz, all that good stuff. So y'all know what to do. Make sure you stay connected with us on all streaming platforms, because we are now streaming on all streaming platforms. So check us out, check us out. Make sure you share with a friend and stay connected with us on social media, on Instagram @ Spacious Podcast. And y'all know what to do. As always, show yourself grace on this life journey. Until next time, y'all, we out.